I am Dr. V.VIJI, Associate Professor of Economics, PG and Research Department of Economics, A.D.M.COLLEGE, Nagapattinam. Today we will go into see demand analysis. Now let us see the meaning of demand. Demand analysis is one of the important considerations for a variety of business decisions like determining sales forecasting, pricing products, services, marketing and advertisement spendings, manufacturing decisions, expansion planning, etc. Demand analysis covers both future and retrospective analysis so that they can analyze the demand better and understand the product and services, past success and failure. Now let us see the importance of demand analysis. The analysis can tell whether a substantial demand exists for the product or services, and given the other information like number of competitors, size of competitors, industry, growth, etc. It helps to decide if the company could enter the market and generate enough returns to sustain and advance its business. Demand analysis helps in identifying key business areas where demand is highest and areas which needs attention as very low. Demand indicates different problems like either the customers are not aware of the product or services, and more focus must be in advertisement and promotion, or the customer needs are not met by current products or services and improvements are needed, or competitors have sprung up with better offering, etc. Now let us see the steps in the demand analysis. What are the steps followed whenever we demand anything? Demand analysis process needs to be done in a structural manner for a particular market and affect the business strategy and decisions. Some of the steps which are to be followed for the analyzing the demand are: first one is market selection. Demand is linked to a market without knowing the market property. Demand cannot be analyzed. Every business would be offering in a single or multiple markets, but it should be clearly known. The first step is understanding the market and knowing the demand trends for the particular product or services. Second one is product services category analysis. Here we have to see the product or services or product and services category analysis. Next step would be to make sure which product or services is being used to analyze the demand. A company may be having a product portfolio of 20 products. Total demand would not give a picture at an individual level. It may happen that demand is huge for 5 categories and low for the rest of 15, but still overall demand is high. For analysis, the product category has to be selected. Example, if a company is selling smart devices, it needs to select phones or the tablets only for its purpose. The third step is understanding business parameters. Demand is never constant across a single year or a time. A less demand in a particular month may not be a sign of an issue with the product line, but it may be that due to climate change. The demand of an item like an air conditioner may go low, but it may again rise in summer season. The fourth step is understanding the competitors and partner trends. For an accurate demand analysis, also need to see whatever parameters vendors and suppliers are predicting in the market, as they are also in the same market and product category. Also, competitors' performance and past sales can help us analyze the demand correctly. Now let us see the parameters of demand analysis. The first one is product's own price. Price of the product plays an important role in demand analysis. If the price is high as compared to competitors or what the customer can pay, the demand would be affected. It can be low or high depending upon the price point of the product or services. Next parameter is customer income. The buying power of customer would definitely impact the demand of a product if the product or services is offered at a price point more than the affordability of a customer group, then the demand would be low. Hence, customer income needs to be analyzed for demand. Third thing is price of competitor goods. As discussed in the first 2 points about price and buying power, competitor's price adds to the equation and can affect the demand of product or services. If competitors is priced lower than the demand of that particular product would be more and vice versa. It can be different scenario in case of luxury of niche products. The fourth one is taste and requirements of the customer. Taste is one of the important aspects of demand. Customer behavior has to be taken into account. The product has to align with the customer's preference, else there would be no demand for the product. The last one is expectations. Sometimes the customer has expectations from a new or existing product based on the overall industry landscape. Example, if every competitor in the market is offering free warranty services, but one company doesn't, then most likely it would not be able to meet the customer expectations. Then the sixth one is number of customers in the market. The potential market is an important parameter for demand analysis. As the customer derive the demand, if the customers are too low, then even though the first 5 points are in favor, still the demand would never rise as the customer base is too small for a viable business. Now let us see the types of demand. Market or individual demand. Here the individual demand is defined as the demand for products or services by an individual consumer. The market demand can be defined as a demand for a product made by a bunch of consumers who buy that product. Therefore, it is a collective demand of each individual's demand. Derived demand. The derived demand is defined when the goods manufactured are related to the demand for other products. For example, the demand for silk yarn in the result of the demand for silk cloth. However, the direct demand for goods can be defined when the demand for a product is independent. For example, there is an autonomous demand for cotton cloth. Next one is price demand. The price demand refers to the number of goods and services an individual is eager to buy at a given price. Income demand. The income demand means the eagerness of a person to buy a definite quantity at a given income level. Whenever the consumer's income is more, they have to purchase more. Whenever the consumer income is less, they have to less capacity of purchasing the products. Cross demand. This is one of the important type of demand where the demand of a product is not subject to its own price, but the price of other similar products is known as the cross demand. Now let us see the important concept. What are the factors affecting demand? Now let us see one by one. First one is price. Price is the main factor. It will affect the demand of each and every consumers. Own price is the most important determinant of demand. When the own price of a commodity falls, its demand rises. And when its own price rises, its demand falls. Thus, it says that there is an indirect relation between the price of a commodity and its quantity demanded. Next one is price of related goods. Whenever we have to see the related goods, we have to see two type of goods. One is substitute goods, another one is complementary goods. First one is substitute goods. It is directly related to the consumption of a commodities. When let us see the complementary goods, it is indirectly or inversely related to the consumption. Related goods are two types. There are substitute and complementary. Substitute goods, when the prices of a substitute goods rise, the demand for a given commodity also rises, and vice versa. For example, if the price of Maruti Swift increases, the demand for I-20 will rise. When we have to take the complementary goods, for example, car and petrol, when the prices of the complementary goods rise, the demand for the given commodity falls, and vice versa. For example, if the price of petrol rises, the demand for cars falls. Third one is level of income. To check the effect of change in the income of households over their demand, goods are divided into two categories. There are as follows. Normal goods, that is positive relationships. These are the goods whose demand rises with the rise in income. Example, basmati rice. Inferior goods, that is negative relationships. These are the goods whose demand falls with the rise in income, and vice versa. Example, low quality rice. Necessities goods. Necessary goods is also their necessities demand for this generally doesn't change with the change in income. Example, life-saving drugs. Fourth one is taste and preferences of the consumer. The demand for a commodity is also affected by tastes and preferences. It rises if there is a favorable change in the tastes and preferences of the consumer, and vice versa. Miscellaneous. The expectation of future is about price and income also affect the demand for a commodity in the present. Suppose if we expect a rise in price in the near future, then we will increase demand in the present, even at the same price. Shape of demand curve. Demand curve has different shapes. Most probably the demand curve is downward slope from left to right. Where the consumer changed to consume the commodities, that way the consumption curve likewise. Sometimes, occasionally the demand curve may be upward slope from the origin. For example, the commodity is substitute goods. The demand curve is downward slope from left to right. When the commodity is complementary goods, the demand curve is upward slope from the origin. We have to pass on why the demand curve is downward slope. It has so many reasons. The first one is the operation of the law of diminishing marginal utility. Whenever the consumer purchased more of same commodities or consumed the same commodities at same time, in that situation, the consumer's taste and utility is going on less. In that way, the operation of the law of diminishing marginal utility basis, the demand curve is downward slope. Sometimes it is based on income effect. When the price of a commodity is less, automatically the consumer purchased less of commodities. Sometimes the income of the consumer is more. In that situation, the consumer purchased more quantity of the commodity. In that situation also, the demand curve is downward slope. Then the third thing is substitution effect. Substitution effect, it is nothing but whenever the consumer substitute any one commodity instead of another commodity. In that situation, we have to take two commodities, commodity A and B. In that situation, the demand curve is downward slope from left to right. These are all the reasons of the demand curve is downward slope. Now let us see one more concept, that is different uses. When the consumer used the same commodity in multiple use. In that situation also the demand curve is downward slope. When the commodity is used are used to adults and children and maybe elders, youngers, male, female, likewise the use of the commodity is various things. In that situation the demand curve is downward slope. Now let us see one more important concept, that is elasticity of demand. The elasticity of demand is classified into three important concepts. One is price elasticity, another one is income elasticity, the third one is cross elasticity. Now let us see one by one. The first one is price elasticity. Price elasticity is classified into 5 categories. First one is relatively elastic, relatively inelastic, perfectly elastic, perfectly inelastic, and unit elasticity. Here we have to see what is the changes of price divided by that is what is the changes of quantity demanded. The ratio is calculated through this elasticity. In price elasticity, sometimes the elasticity is perfectly elastic, sometimes is perfectly inelastic, sometimes is relatively elastic, sometimes relatively inelastic. Well, the exceptional case is unit elasticity. What is the changes in price? That is the same changes occurred in the quantity of demand, quantity demanded. This is called the unit elasticity. Now we pass on to income elasticity. Income elasticity also classified into so many ways. First one is relatively or positively income elasticity or positive income elasticity. Another one is negative income elasticity. Next one is unitary income elasticity. Sometimes the income elasticity is greater than 1. Sometimes the income elasticity is less than 1. It depends upon the income ratio. For example, a consumer earn more of income in that month. In that month they have to spend more of purchasing the commodities. This is called the unitary income elasticity. Sometimes the income elasticity is greater than 1. Sometimes the income elasticity is lesser than 1. Then we move on to one more important classification of elasticity, that is called the cross elasticity. In the cross elasticity, it depends upon the substitute goods or complementary goods. When the consumer purchased substitute goods, commodity 1 is substituted to another commodity, means in that situation the demand curve also downward slope. Here this is one of the elasticity. Then the consumer purchased complementary goods, means in that situation the demand curve is it is upward slope from the origin. In that situation the elasticity is differently occurred. So this is called cross elasticity. Now let us move on the conclusion of demand analysis. Demand is an economic concept that relates to a consumer's desire to purchase goods and services and willingness to pay a specific price for them. An increase in the price of a goods or services tends of decreasing the demand. Likewise, a decrease in the price of a good or services will increase the quantity demanded. Demand is a concept that consumers and business are very familiar with because it makes sense and occurs naturally in the course of particularly any day. For example, shoppers with an eye on products that they want will buy more than the products. Price are low. When something happens to rise the prices, such as a change of session, shoppers buy favor or perhaps none at all. Generally speaking, there is market demand and aggregate demand. Market demand is the total quantity demanded by all consumers in a market for a given good. Aggregate demand is the total demand for all goods and services in an economy. Multiple stocking strategies are often required to handle demand. Thank you.